Hey, this is Aaron from the American Scout channel. Today I'm going to show you how to change a Benjamin Discovery airgun trigger over to the Benjamin Marauder trigger. I hope you enjoy this video. This is my Benjamin Discovery 22 caliber air rifle. It's a very good air rifle. I've enjoyed it for quite a while now. It's a pre-charged pneumatic, PCP. Meaning it fills up, you fill up this tube with air, the tube fills up to 2000 psi, and the air gun runs off that air to supply the pellet with the energy to go forward. So anyways, for those of you that don't know about Benjamin's guns, this is their basic PCP, so meaning the trigger is very basic. In fact, it is plastic, and you can get kits to change that to be a brass trigger. And I've thought about doing that, but I thought I want to take it a step further and make it a tunable trigger. So I went and bought this kit. This is the kit. This is actually the trigger that comes off of the Marauder air gun. Here's your safety. Here's your trigger there. Big differences. It's got it's a two-stage trigger, so you can tune it with the long pull. You can tune, and then it's fine with the how your hair trigger is set up. So, first things first is safety. Make sure you extinguish all the air out of the air tube of your rifle. You don't want to have air in there while you're working on it. Even though this is kind of one of those things that you probably won't. I mean, you probably could do it with the air in it, but just to be safe, rather than sorry, make sure you extinguish all the air. The Benjamin Marauder trigger kit made for the Benjamin Discovery consists of 3 things total that you can buy. Mainly you have to have the 2. So the first is obviously the trigger. Secondly being the spacer they give you. This is a .030 spacer. Let me just read this to you real quick from the instructions, why the spacer is so important. The Marauder air rifle air tube has a .095 thick wall. The Marauder trigger was designed to work best with that tube wall thickness. The Discovery air tube wall is only .065 thick. When you install a Marauder trigger in a disco tube, it sits .030 deeper into the tube and engages the hammer about twice as much as it needs to. To release the hammer, the sear drop link in the trigger pack needs to swing open about 3 times as far as it does in the Marauder. That makes the hammer release more slowly and not as consistent as it could. This .030 thick space restores hammer sear to its proper location so it can function as intended, crisp and fast. The third part is the trigger guard. If you were to buy these 2 parts here on Discos R Us website, it costs you about $65. If you buy the whole set, it costs about $90. So always make sure you buy the spacer. The spacer itself is about $11. So make sure you get that spacer. It's very important that the sear engages the hammer right. You don't want to end up with a broken sear or something like that. So, alright, so the next thing we need to do is lay out all of our tools. There's nothing more frustrating than being in the middle of a project and going to find tools to do the job. So figured I already did that work for you. So here's all the tools you'll need to install this trigger. You'll need a crescent wrench, a screwdriver, you're going to need a flat blade and a Phillips, preferably large. The number 3s would be proper just because the screws are pretty big. And then you need a smaller flat blade screwdriver or a pick of some sort. This is going to be helping us to remove the safety off of the original trigger. So. And then you need some anti-seize. I'll show you what that's for a little bit later. So the first thing we're going to do is we got to remove the safety mechanism. What I like to do is get a screwdriver or a pick. So what we need to do is, if you can see that there's a spring right there. You can see kind of the edge of it. Really small. You got to pull that back and push the safety up. So first we're going to push the safety like it's off, okay? And then I'm going to try to get under here, get up in here, get this spring pulled back. Okay, so you saw the pin or the safety drop back down. So pull that spring out. Okay, there's the springs out. Grab that safety and pull it out. Okay, so there's your safety pin. Okay, and then you can just let the spring go back, because if you had to go back in and pull it out, you can either go back in the way you came, or you can go back in here in the hole and pull it back out. Kind of like second step, pulling apart, is let's use a Phillips number 3 to undo the main screw that holds the stock. Okay, and you can just slip that right off. So there's two screws. There's this, I guess you can call it a bolt, but there's this screw and this bolt that's got to come out for this safety or the trigger to come off. So go ahead and remove this. Okay, now see this end cap right here? This end cap has a spring inside, and that's going to kind of pop a little bit out once this screw comes out. And pop out under the bottom. It's held in from the breech at the top. And there it is. Okay, so while we're here, this is what I wanted to show you. The difference between sears on this trigger and the Marauder trigger is quite a big difference. Okay, first off, the pull is horrendous on this thing, okay? It is tight, 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 okay? And this Marauder is tunable, so you really get to set it how you like it, pretty much. But I mean, just a nice trigger compared to this thing. It's just ridiculous. Okay, then the sear. Look how thick that sear is. Okay, you can kind of see how that operates in there. Okay, now look at this sear. Huge difference. Look at that. Just a way better quality sear. I mean, the machining work. Look at the machining work of this versus, I don't know if you call that machining there. But anyways, so let's talk about installing this so you kind of get the gist. So the paperwork that this kit comes with explains that you need to use a 8/32 screw. Let's double check here. Yeah, 8/32 screw to install this before you put the original bolt and screw back in. I didn't do that, and the reason why they want you to do that is because I guess these are really mild steel, and if you strip it, you're done for you. This is kind of a special deal because this is where your stock screws to. So this goes in there and screws that in. So if you mess this up, you're done. You'll have to find you another one. So, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who can fabricate something like that, but for other people, probably not as easy. So, anyways, if you wanted to do what they said, just to get it seated right, because remember, you're putting in the spacer. So, if you want to get it seated right first with a different 8/32 screw, so you kind of got it right, and then you can take one out at a time and then install the original screws, that's a good idea. So, but I feel pretty confident. I'm pretty comfortable doing this, so I've done it once already. So let's try it again. Okay, so this is made out of aluminum shim, pretty much, and it's already been contoured to the air tube on the air gun. So. So let's stop right here and also talk about installation as well with the actual sear. So when you put this up in here, it's gonna be pressing up on the hammer, okay? So to get that to stop, when you start putting it in, okay, so you can put it on, okay, we can put it on, and we can start tightening, okay? But the issue is when you get down to the final tightening, you're gonna have to press this trigger down and get that sear to drop. It'll get that sear. See, watch. The sear goes. Let's see. How do I have that? Okay, so you see the sear is gonna sit kind of like this, and it's gonna be right there. And if I press a trigger, down it goes. So you have to hold this trigger down when you install this. Otherwise, you might end up cracking the sear or destroying something else. So make sure you pull that trigger back. Very important. Okay. All right. One more thing before we put this thing on. So the anti-seize. So let me tell you what the anti-seize is for. It's going to help lubricate that sear right there, decrease some wear, as well as on the end of the sear here. I'm going to put some right there. You can already see I've already installed this trigger once. I just wanted to show you how to do it. So I took it apart, and here we go again. But anyways, put the anti-seize right there on the edge, and also put it right here on this edge, right on that side, because that's where the hammer is going to be held back, and as soon as you pull the trigger, it's going to release it. You see right there. So the hammer is going to be sliding on this, okay? And I'm going to place it right there. That's even maybe too much. Okay, and then lift that up, and let's put a little bit right there. Okay. Alright, that's probably good enough. So, and make sure you, I'll try to wipe my hands off first before we go install this. I just don't want to get that stuff everywhere. So, once again, anti-seize. First thing first, let's put this on where it needs to be. Okay, so if you look here, you'll see that the holes match like so. And I'm going to put the bolt in first. And the reason why, because remember how the end cap over here came out just a little bit? Okay, you can see the kind of gap that's seated in between the air tube and this end cap. Okay, but because there's a spring built in here, you've got to get this pressed in. You can see that you got that pressed in, otherwise your hole's not going to line up. There's a hole in the tube, and there's a hole in the end cap where the threads are at. Okay, all right, so it's getting a little snug. Okay, once again, make sure you press that trigger in before you press the rest in. Okay, I'm just gonna get this snug, so I'm not gonna over tighten it here. Okay, get this sit in here. Okay, and there she's installed there. So we'll go back. And I'm going to show you how light this is. That is light. So, I mean, you can tune it however you want. I'm not going to show you how to tune it in this video. I haven't really gotten into that myself. I kind of like how it's set up right now. That's really light. But if anybody has any suggestions for me with this, let me know. What kind of poundage people like to set these at. That'd be good. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Kind of amateur on this, but hopefully this was good enough, informative enough for those of you who would like to do this kind of a kit. Pretty easy. Once again, it's on discosrus.com. That's just about 90 bucks for that whole kit with the spacer and the trigger guard. So, thanks for watching, guys.